What the World Needs Now with hosts Tom Whisinnand and Josh Monroe.
In this episode, we're going to rehash how the end of last school year looked for us, our summer break, and what we're doing now at the beginning of this school year to set up our classroom for success. So, Josh, it's been a long time since we've been at this. We had the end of the school year. We took a break. It's hectic. There's tons going on. And we had to honor ourselves and give ourselves time and grace and wrap up the school year the right way.
And I thought that was an awesome move by us, because not only did we honor ourselves, but we honored our students. We made sure that we were there for them. So like after that whole year of building relationships, getting to know them, we made sure that the last few weeks that we were going to have with them, that we were with them.
We were focused on them. We were focused on wrapping up the year that we had and leaving them with great memories. The old adage of they're not going to remember their test scores, but they'll remember how you made them feel. That's true. I don't care who it is. Take that to the bank.
100%. I loved the end of the school year for us. I mean, we have a blast. We went to a Storm Chasers game. And for those that don't know, that's the professional baseball team here in Omaha. They're the farm team for the Royals. We did our fun run. We had an absolute blast.
Yeah, we went to, I teach fourth grade. We study Nebraska. So we went to the Capitol building. We got a tour of the governor's residence, something that a lot of fourth graders don't get to do. And it was wonderful. And having the freedom to be fully engaged and fully with the students, with the parents that went on this field trip, and not have additional stress was absolutely amazing. I think as teachers, as educators, we have to give ourselves the right to do that and not feel guilty about it, Josh, because I think sometimes we do as educators feel like we need to do, and that's not always the case.
I like not only did we have that break at the end of the year, but then we kept it going in the summer, because then we were able to focus in on ourselves as well, refilling our cup. We were able to focus in on our family and spending time with them. And I think if we are going to stay in the field of education, that's got to be top notch. Like our cups have to be full, because from August to May, we're running. We get done with that marathon. We got to make sure that cup not only stayed full throughout the year, but then gets all the way full during the summer.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've had a couple of guests on that have said the importance of, taking care of yourself, being present, giving 110% when you're at school, but then when you're at home, you are present with those around you then too. And I think what you said is spot on. Like we have to take care of ourselves. And Josh, I needed to fully disconnect. I didn't do any schoolwork during the summer. I was fully disconnected from school besides reading a couple of educational books. It was absolutely amazing. My family rented an RV, and my family and my in-laws took this RV up to the Badlands in South Dakota and had an amazing vacation with no schoolwork. There was no emails checked. There was no stress. And man, coming back to school, what a great bunch of memories I have to really get me energized when I need to be.
That's exactly how I felt, because I didn't do any schoolwork at all either. And normally I give myself June, and then I start focusing in on putting my classroom together, making sure lesson plans are being put. I told myself going into this summer, I'm going to wait till August. And we went back on the 3rd?
Yeah.
That gave me the 1st and the 2nd. And once that came, I put my class together. But for those 2 months, I did exactly what you're talking about. I was connected with my family. I took Jax, Aspen, and Colton to the zoo all the time. We went to the safari. We were at the train museum. My wife and I were able to head down to Jamaica for a week. And it was fun to be 100% present in those moments, not thinking about work.
No, you're absolutely right. I think, if you're a doctor, if you're a lawyer, if you're some of these other like highly skilled professions like education, like teachers are, they have no problem in being disconnected. I'm not going to take my surgery home and do surgery at home. I'm not going to take my cases home. And there are some that do, and there will always be teachers that do. But I think education you need to have those professional boundaries, whether it's taking your email off your phone or whether it's not returning phone calls until the next morning. I think at some point, educators really need to just stick to those guns, have those professional boundaries, and take their time to be fully engaged wherever they are, and not have this cloud of school hanging over them.
And sometimes that's easier said than done, right? Like I look back,
Totally.
my first, there was probably 5 or 6 years, I didn't have those boundaries set up. I
No.
was bringing work home constantly. If I got an email, I returned it the moment that I saw it, no matter where I was. It was hard to, I wouldn't say it was, well, yeah, it was hard to learn how to set those boundaries because I had developed some, I would call them bad habits of not making sure that I was taking care of myself first.
Yeah.
So I think you're 100% spot on when you're talking about healthy boundaries. I
Yeah.
think that's almost got to be a college class, right? Like I know we're going to get into how do we get teachers into the profession. Having those healthy boundaries, that's how we keep teachers in.
Josh, have you heard about the phenomena of quiet quitting in education and across the United States?
I haven't.
So
Fill me in.
there's a couple articles that came out about quiet quitting, and it was really interesting. I serve on one of our district site plan teams, and about how can you retain teachers and how can you recruit teachers. And something that was brought up was this idea of quiet quitting and how educators are not doing the level or amount of work that they were asked to do pre-pandemic. And it's not just educators, it's other workers as well. And they've coined this term, these people have coined this term quiet quitting, because you do the minimum that's required of you. And some people really think that's a horrible, horrible idea. And some people think, yeah, that's what it is. And some people have this view, and I'm more in this camp, Josh, where it is, you don't do the minimum, but you've restructured what is important to you as a person and the level of work that makes you happy and makes you feel successful. So like before the pandemic, I think the bar for educators was ultra uber high, and the pandemic came along, and a lot of us pumped the brakes on some things and restructured and said, hold on, maybe this isn't what education's about or how much work we're supposed to be cranking out.
Right. And it's kind of like what Dr. Sutphin was talking to us about getting on, we're on a different side of the mountain now. Are we going to go back to where we were? Are we going to be able to climb higher now that we can see other things? It's almost too like when you lesson plan and you're going through course guides and standards, you find those priority standards. What are the big things that we need to hit on? And you make that your priority. Like that's what it makes me think of when you're talking about this. It's not about doing the bare minimum. It's saying what's important to me as a person, to me in my classroom, me in my profession. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to hit hard.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And I think as you were talking about college classes, there almost needs to be a college class in finding that balance. Setting boundaries is one thing, but I think if we're serious about recruiting educators into the field, that whole arena of what is college look like, what does it look like for teachers to go to school and prepare for this profession, needs to change. Big time. Like it's not the same job that I went into 18 years ago, Josh. It really isn't.
Right. And I think like the whole setup, and I guess I don't know what teacher college looks like now, but I hope it looks different than when I went in, because you're right. It's a totally different job now. And the way that we're scrutinized over everything that we do, like things do need to change if we want to, one, get teachers or get people to become teachers, and two, keep them. Because research shows that, what is it? It's like half of teachers quit by year 5. That's not sustainable, especially with the decrease in people that are going into the field.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. You look at the school district that we teach in, and it's incredible the number of applicants just for any job. And then if you go to a rural district or a district that maybe not have the resources that our district has, the numbers just continue to decrease. The profession as we went into it 17 or 18 years ago, Josh, I think has become much more of a like a PR field. You know, we are in public relations, whether you want to admit it or not. We're not just teaching reading, writing, and arithmetic anymore. We are in the public relations field where we have to get the stakeholders to buy into a vision, you know?
Yeah, 100%. That's a great way to put it. And I think being open and honest about that is really important. And I think our district is doing a really good job of letting teachers know that, like, hey, it is not just about our district. It truly is about the community. And we have to bring everybody together so that we're all going in the same direction with what we're teaching students and how we're teaching them.
You know, another thing that I think needs to change, Josh, is we're not the holders of knowledge anymore. We're huge facilitators, and for us to continue to think that we are these vessels of knowledge that just pour a little bit here, a little bit there into our students is totally wrong. I mean, I look at my own children who are 11 and 8 now, and they can find anything in the world, answer any question they want on YouTube. And it's astounding to me that we still treat math as you need to learn it from me. No, here's Khan Academy, here's other applications. Go push yourself, go challenge yourself. I'll get you started, but then have that fire to continue the journey on your own.
It's funny that you were talking about YouTube because I forget how old your son is because he's not in 5th grade, is he?
Yeah, he's 11. Yep.
Okay. He loves putting things together. He loves YouTube and learning stuff. But my son, he's 6 in 1st grade, and I can't remember the question he asked me the other day. I was like, I don't know, buddy. And he goes, well, ask Siri. Like, even at 6-year-old, they know I don't know everything. I can ask Siri, I can Google this. And so you're right. We're not just pouring information in. We have to teach our kids how to continuously be learning and ways to search out that learning. And I think it really shifts to what becomes the focus in the classroom beyond standards, right? Like, it really is important that we're teaching kids how to communicate effectively, how to listen to one another. Sounds cliche, but like how to be a good friend, even with people that you're not best friends with. So let's say you and I put together this amazing teacher college. What do you think the focus there would be?
You know, I had this amazing teacher at Wayne State College in Wayne, Nebraska, Timothy Scher, and he taught a class that was classroom management, but it wasn't classroom management, Josh. It was building relationships with students and understanding the behaviors. And then this is all over now, but back 17 years ago, it was kind of cutting edge. Like, behaviors are a message. And what is the message really trying to get at? And we have to dig deeper into that. And some teachers don't have the time, don't have the patience, don't have the skills to dig deeper with a student who may be exhibiting behavior and read that as a communication tool instead of just something to be dealt with so that we can continue our lesson, because that's what we have to do.
Yeah, I like that. And it's important that teachers understand that you're not gonna get to the root of that behavior in one conversation, right? That's where those continued relationships help, because then you're able to have conversations, you're able to connect, you're able to show empathy with that student and not be so reactionary to what's going on in that moment. I had a teacher in college. I will not remember her name, but she taught European history. Did not like the class at all. Did not like the class. Loved the lady though. Like, it's kind of going with what you were talking about. She was all about building relationships. So she'd invite small groups over to her house and serve them European dinners. She would invite us out to plays down in Lincoln to go watch with her. And to me, that was new, right? Like, having a professor, especially, invest time in you outside of that
Mm.
3 hours a week was not mind boggling, but it was just mind blowing, I guess would be the correct word to me, because I hadn't experienced that.
Yeah.
So I think that's got to be our first, right? Something about
Totally.
relationships.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, Josh, going back to relationships, and this is what we were talking about earlier, the whole idea of public relations. I think you have to have some kind of public relations class in education, not just for educational leadership, not just for principals, not just for superintendents, but as a classroom teacher, I have to be able to understand that the way I handle my classroom gets out to the parents, and I better handle them uh, the quote unquote right way, so that there aren't public relation nightmares or disasters. I need to treat my kids with respect. I need to, and even if they don't treat you with respect, you need to take that high road. And you're the adult in the classroom, and as a professional, like, that's what really brilliant public relation people do, is
Yeah.
they take it and they deal with it, but they deal with it in a um, very professional manner.
Sometimes kids ask for love in the most unloving way.
Yeah.
And we have to be there to give them a loving response for multiple reasons, keeping that relationship there for them. But then what you're talking about, going back to the parents, right? Parents, I mean, me as a parent with my children, I have to know that my kid's teacher cares and loves about them. And if
Yes.
I don't feel like my child is being cared for, that would be really hard for me. It'd be
Totally.
hard for any parent.
Yeah. Yeah. Josh, what would you think if there was another class that talked about what motivates teachers? What motivates you? What
Ooh.
drives you into this profession?
Let's right away. I'm like, well, money motivates me, but that's not why we went into teaching.
No,
And
unfortunately.
I
Yeah.
think a lot of people that are listening, when we're talking about like, hey, how can we get teachers in the field? How can we keep them? A lot of people's first answer is going to be, we'll pay them more, obviously, but that's not happening right now. So what are some things that we can truly do? Man, what motivates me? Being around kids is a huge motivator. Like COVID took that away, and
Mm,
that was really hard. Like that's the first time in my career that I sat there and I was like, I don't want to do this, because I wasn't able to have the same kind of connections, the same kind of conversations. I really don't like calling kids out in front of other people, and that was hard on Zoom
right.
when somebody's messing around or they've got their dog in the video and stuff. It's hard to have a private conversation with them. Like you can't be like, I'm going to put them in a break room and rest of the class, hold on just a second, break in there. I mean, but that was hard for me, is not having those connections
Yeah.
the way that I enjoy them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Man, beyond, I think I need to hear your answer, because I'm sitting here trying to think, and I've got things that motivate me.
Yeah.
Reading books is always a great motivator for me, like
Mhm.
gathering ideas, doing this,
Right.
talking.
Yeah.
That's a huge one, is having conversations. Maybe that could be a class too. Like how do you have professional conversations? What would that look like? Like what's a PLC look like?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. I
I don't
think
know. Let's hear your answer. I need to hear yours.
you're going down the right path, I think, Josh, because I think there needs to be a class for educators to find their own mentors. You know, there's districts, and we're very fortunate to be in one, that have wonderful mentorship programs for the first 5 years. But a lot of schools don't have the funding, they don't have the resources to do that. So, what does it look like to be in a relationship that is healthy, that is positive, that moves you forward? You know, I I love watching documentaries, and there's a documentary about Tony Robbins. And Tony Robbins, this motivational speaker, talks about being pulled through life by something that is just enticing and mesmerizing. He says that being pushed is fine, and that gets some people to where they need to go, but eventually you get tired of being pushed. It just wears on you. But if you're pulled by something, it's a lot easier to get up in the morning and go do it. And it's more aligned with maybe a calling or a mission, if you will, in life. And so
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Passion. Like, what's
yeah,
passion?
so I think we need to have a class about what is your passion and what is teaching. Then how do you find those other people around you, like a Josh Monroe to a Tom Whisinnand, or like um you know I,
A Tom Whisinnand to a Josh Monroe.
Tom Whisinnand to a Josh Monroe, a Claudine James who now has 4 million followers on TikTok because she was pulled to this passion of sharing grammar with the world. Like, there's just these incredible stories. How do you connect with people like that and share your passion? I think that would be an absolute amazing class.
That really would be. And when you were talking about that, like, I went straight to Harry,
Mm,
right? Like, Harry is breaking down huge walls all around the world, and being able to go to Arkansas, meet him, sit down, talk with him was career changing. Looking at what his school looks like, listening to how school looks over there, I think having your lens broadened, that can be one of those moments that can help pull you along as well. So after we went down to Arkansas to hang out with him, we came back and we wrote some letters, and they got to him, but he's now writing back. He sent me a message a couple weeks ago asking for my address, saying that he was ready to mail them. I feel disappointed in a way. Like, I don't know how to get that to my students who started that,
right.
like, I want them to be able to see your letters really did make it halfway
Mhm.
across the world. Students sat there and read them, and they're writing back to you. Like, how cool is that? And thankfully, this year's group of students, they'll be introduced to that, and we'll keep that going. But I thank you for that. I think that is a great friendship that I have now developed with Harry, and it's been extremely motivating and helping me think about how can I get my students to think more than just these walls that we're sitting inside of.
Yeah, totally, totally. Um, this new group of kids, Josh, we got a new class this year. Um, and it's incredible. I love the start of school, the hope, the newness of it, learning everybody's personalities, everybody's quirks, what drives them. Um, what are some things that you're doing to kind of set yourself up for success as the year kind of rolls on?
I think it's funny that you said, like, just how much you love the beginning of the school year, because I think teachers fall into either they really love it or they really hate it. And I kind of teeter on that line of, it's not my favorite time of the year. Now, when we get to the end of September, early October, when what we're doing right now actually takes place,
Yeah,
it becomes automatic for them.
that's
Those
prime
are the
time.
moments I love. And when I get to that moment, then I can reflect back on right now. But man, Tom, right now is hard. Like, the beginning
Mhm.
of the year, getting a new group of kids, it is hard to get all of them moving in this direction that we want, because sometimes school looks a lot different than what they're used to.
Mhm.
They got a new set of expectations with a new teacher that they're trying to learn, new people in class, and you're trying to figure out how to manage that, learn all about them, right? Like, learning this kid rides the bus 30 minutes to
Mm.
get home, and this kid lives with grandma and grandpa because mom and dad aren't in the picture right now. Very important time of the year. I just find it extremely, it's one of those moments that drains me pretty quick when there's all that we're taking on.
Yeah.
But it's super ultra important for the rest of the year, right? Like, we don't want to get to May and then be so upset with ourselves, like, oh, why are they acting like this? Why, what? So everything that we're doing right now is super important.
Super important. The first 3 weeks curriculum, we taught it, but we did a whole lot of group work. We do a whole lot of activities, a whole lot of we talk a lot sometimes in our podcast, Josh, about low risk social questions. We do a whole lot of low risk activities so that if somebody's wrong, it's not a big deal later on in the year when they're wrong, and it's on a math assignment or a social studies discussion or a science, we learn to be okay with being wrong and not reacting, laughing, or being ridiculous. I think
Yep.
that's super important.
I really enjoy teaching that part about like the importance of communication, but then what does it sound like and look like when somebody does make a mistake? I love teaching about that, especially with those low risk, like would you rather live in a spaceship or a submarine, and talking about like, well, you two disagree. Like, why do you guys disagree? Like, let's have that conversation, because then when we get to math and Timmy forgot to regroup his fractions, like what's that going to look like with a high risk area, but starting them in that low risk. Yeah, we're still going to teach math the first month of school.
Yeah.
We're still going to do science, but we got to build time for those purposeful conversations where kids aren't afraid to be wrong. And what you're doing right now sets up that for the rest of the year, right? Like right now, it might be kind of tough. Month 2 from now, when those 1 or 2 kids have something going on, you can turn to the rest of the class. All right, I want you to get with your collaboration partner. I want you to blank, whether you're going to give them an actual assignment or one of those low risk, really quick, you're going to deal with blank and then get back. Right?
That's something that you do so exquisitely in your TikToks, is you give a quick assignment and you have those structures in place so that you can have those private one-on-one conversations with students who may disagree or may not be able to control their emotions or didn't get to sleep the other night. And that really is, I think, where the rubber meets the road for great teachers. Is I can have these students go do what they need to do, and then I can invest in you, Josh Monroe. I can invest directly into you and build this relationship because these other students can handle theirs.
Yeah, I think that that's really important, that we take time to realize we have a lot of power in our classroom, and the way that we use it is super important. Like when Tom's messing around in class, I do have the power that I can belittle him and make him feel this big, but that's not how we should use that's not how anybody should use their power. Turn to the rest of the class. Hey, have a quick conversation about how sweet your shoes look today. And then I'm having a conversation with you, and it's not long and it's pretty direct too, right? Like, I think that's got to be part of our new teacher college classes in that classroom management, that when you do turn and have those conversations, they're personal, they're private, but they can also be stern. Hey, right now we're trying to get through with math. This is really disrupting me. This is really disrupting the learning of the class. I'd appreciate it if you could stop.
Josh, I think the sternness that you're talking about is, maybe people are afraid to use that power. And I'm not talking about overly stern, but I am talking about direct. What you said is absolutely spot on. Kids can handle adults being direct with them. And kids typically know when they're wrong. And if I'm direct with a student, it's amazing that that student typically it's over with and done. Especially if like you deal with it one-on-one, he knows we've dealt with it, we're moving on.
Yeah. And as long as you're one of those adults, you say what you mean and you mean what you say and you follow through, they learn real quick.
Real quick.
Those conversations might start out once a day, once a week, whatever. They lengthen though. You don't have as many of them later in the year. And that's when you get to May and you're not pulling your hair out, right? You're still loving the class that you're with, because up front you were honest with them and you were consistent.
Paul Solers talks about the skills of independence and how once or twice at the end of the year he had independent days, and he would just get the kids, they would come in, they would know the business, they would do their jobs, they would get about learning, and he could sit in the back of the classroom and pull students, have conversations, do what he needed to do.
Like I said, one of the reasons that I don't like the beginning of the year is because it is so hard.
It's intense. There's no way around it.
No. Yeah. I was just thinking as we were finishing that thought, something else that we, and I know that they're taught this and told this, but maybe it needs to be practiced before you enter a classroom, is that it is not your job to be their friend. Right? Like, Doesn't mean that you're a jerk or anything, but you're the adult in that classroom. And that's a huge responsibility. We go back to the PR side of it. It is a huge responsibility that you carry. You are not their friend. You don't have to be this cool dude, cool lady walking around all the time. You know, you're in charge.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's a lot. And there's different ways to be in charge, right, Josh? And kids, I love my job because kids are some of the smartest beings, I think, on this planet. They can tell whether a person cares, whether the person is authentic, or whether the person is just there for themselves and there for a paycheck, or there to belittle them, like you said. So yeah, I'm wholeheartedly agree with you on that.
And I like that you said, like, there's different ways to do it too. The way that you do it and the way I do it probably aren't the same, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Because we get to know our kids, we know ourselves and our strengths. One of the things that I've learned from being on TikTok, especially when I do any kind of video that deals with any type of accountability, but that is something that's really hard for kids to see when they don't have that relationship, right? So the kids that don't follow me or haven't followed me for a very long time, they see one of these videos, dude, you're a Karen, you're a dude Karen, and all this stuff that they just throw out. And I can sit there and take it because I know you don't know me and I don't have a relationship with you. So that's okay. But then I do the same thing in my classroom. 10 minutes after a conversation, that kid's writing you a note or something, you know, because they know that you love them and that you're there for them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of teaching, right? Is part of being that caring, loving, trusting adult is the accountability piece.
Yeah, it is. It is. I find that sometimes people who haven't been held accountable, or some people who may have a different opinion of what accountability truly is, sometimes are those that give the strongest pushback because they haven't been held accountable, or because they took accountability maybe in a different kind of way that may be more forceful. Or I just think that's really incredible that people respond that way when you're reprimanded out of care, because we want you to be the best you.
Is what we do, right? Whether it's put out on TikTok or it's what we really do in our classrooms, it's to help kids be the best them.
Yeah.
Was it Arlinda Davis? Be ready to inherit society.
Yeah.
One of the greatest quotes that I've ever heard.
Yep. Absolutely. What we should be doing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, this rest of this year, we have some amazing guests lined up. We're going to do it the format where it is probably about once every 2 weeks to give Josh and I some time to recharge and keep our cups full. But dude, I've loved this talk. I cannot wait to get online with some other amazing educators. I think that if you're listening to this, drop us a comment. Let us know who you would like us to reach out to. What educators do you know that we should interview and have them inspire us, have them inspire you, I think, Josh.
Absolutely, because that's the best way to grow our circle, right? Like, you know, people that have become part of my circle, I know people that have become your circle, but the more that our circle can grow and the more our inspiration continues to grow, man, the better our field is going to be. We say it all the time. I don't know if it'll be Tuesdays anymore that we record, because I know life's getting busy for us.
Absolutely.
But when we sit down and talk, it is one of my favorite nights of the week. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our show. We're so thankful and appreciative that you took your time to listen.
Hopefully you're ready for another week of changing lives. And hopefully what the world needs now is helping you to sustain your inspiration as we journey through this new school year together. If it is, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It helps us to get inspirational educators' stories out.
Finally, we hope that as you head out, you remember that the biggest factor that plays into student success is you, your love, your passion, your empathy, your dedication. It's exactly what the world needs now. Thank you for all that you do. Have a good one.